Good afternoon, I'm Adam Hillier and here are your 1 o'clock sports headlines. Let's kick off with this weekend's football action. There are 8 FA Cup fixtures this weekend, including a blockbuster tie between Chelsea and Man United. Tonight, QPR host Watford, and Watford manager Javier Garcia believes his team should treat this game as if it was the final.
I think QPR are playing well. It's true in the last games they didn't get good results, but in many games they've been very close to get them. It will be a very, very demanding game for us.
Away from the FA Cup, in League One, leaders Luton Town travel to Fleetwood as they look to extend their lead at the top. Locally, third place Portsmouth face mid-table Southend United in a must-win game for their promotion push. There's plenty of National League action this weekend too. Adam White is here in the studio with more.
Thank you, Adam. Havant and Waterloo have a massive task as they host promotion-chasing Wrexham at the Westley. A win for Havant would see them move further away from the relegation places, leaving Barnet and Halifax Town in trouble. Elsewhere in Hampshire, Eastleigh will be looking to continue their current form. Ben Streven's side are joint top of the National League form table, following 3 wins on the bounce. The Spitfires host Braintree on Saturday.
Well aware that it's going to be a tough game. They beat Salford their last home game. They're fighting for their lives down the wrong end of the table, but it's going to be a real tough game, probably as tough as we've had in a few weeks. So we train well again this week, and there's a confidence in the group, but knowing that we've got to turn up and perform on Saturday. If we just turn up, I think we're going to win the game and we'll lose, no doubt about it. They're fighting for their lives and they've got some good players.
Our Eastleigh correspondent Charlie Cranstone joins us in the studio. Welcome, Charlie.
Welcome.
There's a great feel at the club right now. How do you feel the mood is in the camp?
Yeah, I think it's really good. I went down to the training session yesterday, and after an intense session, they did some additional drills, especially shooting. There's a lot of laughter, a lot of smiles, and why wouldn't they be? They've won 3 on the bounce. That's more than any other National League club.
Should they be cautious of Braintree despite their league position?
Yeah, like you said, they're bottom of the league currently, but coming off the back end of last week's result, they beat high flyers Salford City 1-0 thanks to a 94th minute winner. So they're definitely one to be wary of, and someone that Strevens has had to keep an eye out.
Thank you, Charlie. Back to you, Adam.
Thank you for Adam for that, and hopefully Spitfire can continue their good form this weekend. Football stadiums are the spiritual home of every club, but what happens with a time for change? Here's a taste of what's to come at 4 p.m.
After 112 years of football, the Berlin Ground played host to its final ever fixture on Tuesday.
The Gunners about to come out at this ground for the last time before they upgrade from this stylish, but in today's terms small, stately home of football to luxury accommodation nearby.
The demolition will begin within hours of today's closing ceremony, and all will be left will be the memories, millions of them, for the legions of Spurs supporters.
Does player power have an effect on the decision to sack a manager? Players often perform badly on purpose to get rid of a coach. QPR coach Liam Wilde gave his thoughts on the matter.
You need to have a look at the whole situation, because managers are always going to lose because of players are in contract. It's cheaper to always replace the manager than it is to release the players. So unless it's gross misconduct, players will always win.
There will be more on that story at 4 p.m. A tragedy has brought a Brazilian club close together. Flamenco fans and players have paid tribute yesterday to 10 teenagers who were killed in a fire at the training ground. The boys were all aged between 14 and 16 years old. Their opponent, Fluminense, joined them in tribute ahead of their first match since the accident. The fans did their part as well, as they set off balloons and lit the stadium up with torches on their phones. Anthony Joshua and Jarrell Miller's fight in June was confirmed this week. Since Joshua won gold in London 2012, public funding for Olympic boxing has risen by just over £4.5 million in time for Tokyo 2020. But has this affected participation locally? Here's a taste of what's to come later on with our reporter Peter Akamosa.
Deontay Wilder, the feared puncher. Tyson Fury, the master salesman.
What impact has this had on boxing? Tune in later to find out.
England's rugby will be without a key figure this Saturday. Prop Marco Vinipola will miss a will be a big loss as the Roses travel to the Principalia Stadium to face the undefeated Welsh side. Vinopola has been ruled out for the rest of the Six Nations after damaging ankle ligaments in the big win against France. Boxing, football, rugby. All sports we as the general public will be familiar with. But in Southampton, the sport of Quidditch has really taken off. A Premier League was created in 2016 and Team GB now have a World Cup side. We spoke to Kerry Aziz, who says the sport is spreading across the globe.
So we compete every year, alternating years at the European Games and at the World Cup, so against teams from countries all over the world. So last year, or just this last June, we competed in Florence in Italy at the World Cup, and we competed against teams such as Turkey, the USA, Malaysia, from all over the world, and we came fourth there.
Gerard Piqué has been making the headlines in tennis. The footballer has faced criticism for his part in the $2.15 billion revamp of the Davis Cup. The finals will be a week-long World Cup format in Madrid, involving 18 nations. Australian Davis Cup captain Leighton Hewitt described the changes as ridiculous, claiming Piqué knows nothing about tennis. The Barcelona defender said he will prove that his critics wrong of their opinions of the tournament. And finally, in F1, a number of teams have released their cars for the upcoming new season. We have Charlie Cranstone in the studio with more. Charlie, what are the cars looking like ahead of the new season?
Fast, very fast is what they're looking like. A lot of new livery changes. We've seen Mercedes have not just silver anymore, a bit of black. Same with Ferrari, which they've just released today. But what we're really looking forward to is next week when they take them all out on track in Barcelona. This will be the first sort of time we get to see these cars, and especially the new front wings they're going to have. It's a lot less aerodynamic on the front wing, which means that the cars should be able to follow closer, as the turbulent air behind other cars should not keep them as far away.
And we've seen Mercedes dominate proceedings for the last few years. Do you think there'll be finally a team that can start challenging them at the top of the championship?
Well, hopefully it should be Ferrari. Well, that's what everyone's hoping for. They got very close last season, especially at the first part where Sebastian Vettel won the first two races of the 2018 season. So we're hoping that they'll be much closer, especially with their new driver Charles Leclerc, who drove for Sauber last year and finished very high up in some races. For example, in Azerbaijan, he finished 6th, which is far beyond what his car should really be able to do. So hopefully they can bring the challenge to Lewis Hamilton.
Thank you, Charlie, for that. And yes, the Formula 1 Grand Prix season will kick off on the 17th of March in Australia, Melbourne. That's all for now. I'll be back again in an hour. Remember, you can keep up to date on our website, solentjournalism.co.uk.